Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing Pulvett D in the 3-minute pool on ICC. Pulvett D is 2136, and maybe we'll get a Nimzo. We do get a Nimzo. I'll play Queen C2. Let's go A3. Let's play the main line. Knight F3 is another move I've played often recently. D5. Okay, let's go Knight F3. I think Bishop G5 is a decent way of combating this line. Black often will try to play C5, though, early on. And I think Black can expect a small advantage in this line. Let's go Rook D1. Or did I say Black can expect a small advantage? I mean, Black can expect to minimize White's advantage in this line. I think it's actually a pretty reliable variation for them. So Queen C8, I think they're trying to get off the D file and go for C5 by doing this. And what to do about that? I could play E3, but that seems kind of lame. E4 might be more aggressive. Bishop takes F1, King takes F1, C5. Maybe I go D5 then, but they're in a good position to blockade a pawn that I might eventually establish there. What else could I do? I could take on F6 and then play G3. Let's do that. This is sort of unusual, but maybe this is a decent plan. And it's 3 minutes, so I got to make a quick decision. Surprised he's thinking about this. So the decision I came to is fianchetto this bishop, because if ever I play E3 or E4, they're taking and I have to disrupt my castling. So at least now I can point to the C5 pawn as maybe being a imbalance in my favor. So if knight E5 he trades, and then my B2 pawn would be hanging. Right, Rook D2 maybe? I don't know. Rook D2, they can move this bishop and then threaten knight E4 is the only thing. Like now knight E4 is a threat. Let's go here. So that if knight E4, I have Rook C2. Gotta pay attention to those knight forks. I'd like to play Rook C1 in order to attack this C5 pawn. You know, I'm marginally better structure-wise, but Black has good activity. It probably makes up for that disadvantage. This pawn is hanging. I haven't had a chance to take it yet. Don't know if I like Bishop B3 by him. I feel like his rook should not be hindered along the B file. Because now this knight is hanging as well. He might just want to go back, Bishop D5. But on Bishop D5, I can play B4 maybe. Yeah, let's do that. And if C4, I think I can get away with taking. Pretty sure I can. Okay, queen here. So if I take Rook A8, what if knight E5? What if knight E5? Knight E5, queen here. I'm going to do this, and then after queen D6, I'm going to take on E4. That's the plan. Wow, they played that instead. Well, that just loses a pawn, does it not? Okay, first let's get this move order right. Let's take, and let's take. So we do win a pawn with that transaction. They're probably going to play F6, back my knight off. We're going to play this and try to make them retreat. If Bishop D5, Rook B1 might not have been so good by me. Okay, let's figure out how to play this now. Let's go here. They might be able to... Yeah, I'm misplaying this slightly. I'm going to do this and then try to make a break for their 7th rank. If they take on D3. Threatening the bishop. I'm also threatening Rook D6, perhaps. Yeah, they have this to defend. Position's probably roughly equal now.
Check.
I clearly misplayed that position. That endgame.
Check.
Let's go here. Maybe marginally better still. A4, I'm threatening Rook B5. The time, though, is going to get really close. let's go here. Go h4. Try to go h5.
Time check. Check.
Let's go here now. We'll win all these pawns. There's a lot of pawns.
Check.
D1.
Check.
Okay. My instinct says that I have too many pawns for him to deal with.
Check.
Let's advance this outside pawn. And my king and pawns form a nice
Check.
shelter too.
Check.
Yeah, there's too many.
Check. Check.
Way
Check.
too many.
Check. Check. Check.
Okay. All right, so pretty close finale there. Yeah, when I made the decision to take on f6, it was just a judgment call that even though he wins the a-pawn, it's worth it for me to knock out this row of pawns, and I have 4 passed pawns over here. Well, 3, I guess, but the e-pawns are doubled. And then even if I have to give up back a rook, my connected pawns over here are just too much for him to handle. And notice that his king was impeded from taking a direct route back to help out the rook. Even without these pawns, this might still be a win for white, but it was very nice that my like e3 pawn controlled the d4 square and the e4 pawn controlled d5. So let's have a look. So
Check.
a3, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3. Yeah, d5 is a more brute force equalizing attempt by black. I just played knight f3 in response, and then take and take, b6. Here white usually plays bishop f4 or bishop g5. I'm not too familiar with the theory. Of the 2 moves, I think I've had more success with bishop g5 in my blitz play online. So that's what I went with. Let's start the engine right about here. In this position looks like one where white has to play very accurately to keep any advantage whatsoever. Because that plan of simply pushing c5 and liquidating the center is straightforward and strong. Yeah, so rook d1 probably isn't doing anything. The engine likes queen c6, blockading his c-pawn. Yeah, there is something to be said for that move. Still, it doesn't look that bad for him. e3. I mean, I was always hesitant to play e3 because after take, I can't castle. But I do recall one game where I made this work for me and might have even castled by hand. So that was something I could consider. So I played rook d1. He went h6, bishop h4. In retrospect, if I was going to adopt this capture on f6 plan and then g3 feign Kedowing, maybe I should have done it here, or played bishop f4 to attack this pawn. Because the point of rook d1 was that c5 is less enticing because of this capture, and I'm x-raying his queen. It's hard to get the move order right in these 3-minute games, because if you pause to think for any period of time, you're finding yourself way down on the clock. Yeah, this plan doesn't really impress too much for white, but I mean, the engine even thinks that black is better, despite the structural deficiency. That's a testament to black's play with the minor pieces and the open b file, etc. So rook d2, and then he moved the bishop, threatening knight e4, so I jumped into a5, knight e4. I do think I outplayed him in this stage of the game, though, because I ended up winning a pawn. b4 looks to be a good move. I was surprised by queen c6. I thought he would play c4, in which case I would have taken. And then after rook a8, I can come back to e3. This is a convenient square. And I have an extra pawn and 2 connectors. So he played queen c6 and then knight e5. And I was expecting this move, after which I would have played something similar to the game. Take, and if bishop takes, then I can take here. This is actually safer than the game, even better than the game, because I get to keep my pawns connected. I guess the only issue is he can take on e5. I saw this line. I just kind of figured I had to go for it, and I thought it might turn out better for me. And then he can take on b4 using the pin. Okay. And maybe black can equalize. White might still have a slight advantage in something like this, just because of this pawn, but that's very slim. This is probably a draw, almost certainly a draw. So he played queen b5, and I get to win a pawn. Yeah, unfortunately, even though this is a pass pawn, it's still subject to attack. Like, pass pawns are also isolated pawns. Now, they can be isolated pawns, keep in mind. And, yeah, I didn't find a good plan to use that pawn effectively. Like, this was a waste of time, rook b1. Immediately after playing that, and he goes bishop a6, just threatening to take and take here, I realized, okay, I have to move right back. So, 2 tempos just gifted to him right there. Yeah, and then his king came up pretty fast. I think this was a good decision, rook b1. So I was hoping for, like, bishop takes d5, king takes, and then if he takes here, just invade on the 7th rank with pressure. But he played this instead. I came in, and now he took. This was a good idea. So he first covered the 7th rank in his g7 pawn. And now we get to this endgame. I might have a very slight advantage just because I'm cutting him off on the b file, and I have that plan of a4 and rook b5, trying to pick up the a pawn. It's like a mini plan.
Check.
And he didn't really show anything convincing. I don't think e4 was very good. I mean, he was trying to mess my structure up with that, but it's probably not worth a pawn to do so. So what should he play instead? Like maybe just the engine suggests pushing on the king side. Rook d4 does make sense, trying to transfer the rook over somewhere active. Stops a4 as well. e4 was a bit much, huh?
Check.
Yeah, and I think I played well after this. a4, brought the rook to b5. I was expecting him maybe to defend more passively with rook a7, but he went here. h4 is a good move to gain space.
Check. Check.
Yeah, and then I went after these pawns. Maybe he should go rook f7, just to make it hard on me. That way he still keeps the king b4 threat going after the a-pawn, but yeah, I'd have some work to do still here. I might make use of the h5 move if I can, because h5 would puncture a hole in his structure and allow my king to come up. So yeah, maybe he should play h5. And then I'd probably slowly start arranging e5, another pawn breakthrough. It does look winning for me. Let's just quickly check this endgame. The engine is very excited about this move. Take, now a4. So does that make it difficult for my rook to come back? Yeah, okay, so I guess he's covering these squares, making it difficult for me to sacrifice. Yeah, and even here, not a3, allowing the rook to come back, but king to c2. And it's very annoying that my rook doesn't have other good squares it can come back on. I mean, what if I do something pretty drastic like this? I guess here his king is at least in a better position. Rook g7, okay. Yeah, this is a very precise continuation. Black might be able to hold that endgame. But as played, where I'm able to sack my rook for the a-pawn, and I just have all these pawns to work with, I'm sure this is losing for him.
Check.
It's just too many pawns. I guess even here, he might have that king b3 move.
Check.
King c3, rook b1, just following the engine's line.
Check.
Okay, so it wants to make use of lateral checks to like force my king away from the g-pawn. That is very interesting. So like here, just rook g7, not even pushing the a-pawn yet. Okay. Well, I stand corrected then. Yeah, he might be able to hold this with these lateral checks. That seems to be key. If my pawns get any further than they are, it's pretty bleak for him. I mean, he did the straightforward thing, just try to queen as quickly as he can.
Check.
But his king gets dragged so far away, and these pawns just become unstoppable. Like I said, this would be even hard for him to hold without my e-pawns.
Check.
Yeah, once they hit the 6th rank, it's all over. Okay, well, that was a very instructive endgame. That was a lot of fun.
Check.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I'll be back tomorrow with another Blitz game. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.